All right, let's get started. Welcome to today's First Beat webinar with a very provocative topic of stress and recovery explained. How does your heart guide the way to improved health and well-being? We are broadcasting today from Jyväskylä, Finland, and our guest speaker, Dr. Carlisle Jenkins, is joining us all the way from Sydney, Australia, and close to 100 people listening in from around the world. My name is Tiina Hoffman. I'm an exercise physiologist here at First Beat, and I'll be hosting today's session. If you want to learn more specifics about the lifestyle assessment method in corporate wellness, please listen to the Introduction to Lifestyle Assessment webinar podcast on our website under webinars. You can also find other previous webinar podcasts there on a number of different topics. During the webinar, you can ask questions by writing them in the chat window. We will read them out at the end of the session and discuss them. If we don't have time to answer all the questions, we will send the answers to you via email afterwards. Now I would like to introduce today's guest speaker, Dr. Carlisle Jenkins, who has been a doctor of chiropractic since 2000. He founded PROHAB Performance in London in 2005, and his clients are at the top of their game in business and sport, interested in having more energy, more recovery, and more capacity to deal with stress and perform better. PROHAB's team of experts delivers innovative programs and care in pain management, corporate well-being, and elite athlete performance. Today, Carlisle will explain how he uses heart rate variability data to help his clients as part of health and performance coaching, with First Beat Lifestyle Assessment as one of the tools in his kit. Welcome, Dr. Jenkins. The podium is now all yours.
Thank you, Tina. Good evening, everyone. Good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are in the world. It's great to be here and hopefully share what I think is some very interesting and powerful information that professionals that work in health and well-being can now help their clients with. Although I live and work in London, I'm actually broadcasting from Sydney, as I have always been very keen to schedule recovery, and getting home to my family and sharing some time on the beach is one of the best ways that I know how to do that. I guess I want to share with you tonight what we've, as a company, on our journey to be able to try and help more and more people, have learnt. And over the period of my career, how I got to be involved with using First Beat, the product. I'm not employed by First Beat, but I really enjoy using the product. And tonight I hope to share with you the insights that we've gained from that, some case studies that would help you see that in real life, and how it's helped our business. How did I get to this place? I studied chiropractic, finishing in 2000. I was always fascinated by the intersection of energy, health, and performance. And I promised myself that once I graduated, I would take myself to Europe, and specifically the Alps. I wanted to ski in the Alps. I wanted to work in Europe and support my skiing with my work as a chiropractor. And I did just that. And I had a brilliant time. I also met a number of budding athletes at the time in the fields of free ride and freestyle. Both of those sports weren't that big at the time, but now free ride has a world tour that's similar to the surfing world tour, and freestyle is an Olympic sport. And I've been fortunate enough to help a young kid who was 12 at the time when I first met him, James Wood, from Sheffield in England. There are no mountains to an Olympic final in Sochi. And on that journey, I learnt how to help someone who was constantly traveling, constantly having to turn up and perform. And my skill set as a chiropractor was generally about how to help their physical body. But I quickly noticed that on that journey that this individual needed more support around nutrition, around his headspace, and mentally how he applied himself to learning and progressing through his sport and performing at the highest possible level. So I had to develop my skill set to be able to do that. So I was asking more questions. I was trying to learn about how to get more data, about how to help individuals across a holistic biopsychosocial model to help them transform themselves. We started asking a lot more questions, and I've attracted a lot more clients in that sporting field who were trying to raise their performance. And prior to London 2012, I was part of a team supporting Mark Cavendish in his attempt to win the road race there and ride the Tour de France that season. My passion's not sport, though, to be honest. I love working with athletes, but my passion's actually helping business people who are out to make a big impact in the world. So typically, they're trying to solve a big problem that we in the world have. They are engaging some new technology that they've either developed or they're scaling in a different way, and they are looking at building teams to deliver that. So these people typically have really high demand on their energy, their health, and their ability to continually perform every day. So this holistic, whole person biopsychosocial social approach applies to that, and I've transferred some of the frameworks and models that I developed around working with the athletes into the business world. So my business PROHAB performance delivers exactly that, and I established that in 2005 at number one Harley Street. We now have a facility in St Paul's, which includes 2,000 square feet of gym space as well as clinical treating areas. So we're able to take people from being injured, who have had a chronic injury for some time, and take them out into movement safely and graduate them back to safe, pain-free movement. And if they wish, onto training with a personal trainer. But our clients come to us for a lot more than that, as you'll see. So part of me asking more questions was actually developing a really deep questionnaire for every client that walked through our door. So my goal was to understand the kind of behaviors that they were exhibiting and doing prior to arriving that perhaps was connected to the issue that they wanted to solve. Also, I wanted to be able to fine-tune some of the tools that we use to help people make changes that are going to help them change their situation, solve their problem, and raise their energy, their health, and performance. So about 6 years ago, I deployed a questionnaire, and to date, we've had 874 participants in this questionnaire. And if you look at the data, there's some stuff we're going to pull out tonight to share with you, which I think if you're working in a large city with a physical therapy practice, so you're either a physiotherapist, physical therapist, osteopath, or chiropractor, then this perhaps would be reflective of the kind of people that you're seeing. If you're in the suburbs, if you're in the commuter belt, then that's a different story. Perhaps the people that you're seeing are a slightly different demographic. But if you're in a city and people that you're seeing perhaps would fit this, then you're in the right place with this webinar, because we're hopefully going to give you some information that will help you help more people. So typically our clients are 37 years old. We do see a 50-50 split between males and females. I got thinking about this, started doing some more research on why 37 seems to be the age. And interestingly enough, Bill Gates has invested some serious money into global health, and one of the projects he's invested money into is the Global Health Database. So he's tried to pull together information from every country on the planet. So once you get on this website, you can actually toggle between various things. And what I did was go on and look at the developed world and ask about lifestyle diseases, so diseases that are made by how people live as opposed to infections that they've caught. And then I looked at incidence, and if you toggle those little parameters there, you get a very interesting little graph where it looks like 9% of the population in the developed world will experience from birth things like back pain, asthma, depression, lifestyle diseases, and so forth. And then that curve doesn't change. So people in their teens, in their 20s, it's still 9% of the population that typically will experience that. And then the curve makes a very serious change in direction around the 37-year mark. So it wasn't just my practice that was seeing these people. I think this is indicative of people living in a developed world. They will turn up to to chiropractors, to physiotherapists, to osteopaths with musculoskeletal problems that typically have been around for a while, and there's perhaps a reason for that. These people are also professionals in a position of responsibility, so there's quite high demand on themselves, and more often than not, they have a family that they've just started or has been around for a very short while. So as well as the professional position providing quite high demand on them, they have home demand as well. And typically our clients, the number one thing they want is pain management, and the number one area of their body that seems to be the key issue is low back pain, which I think for most of us in the therapy world, physios, osteos and chiros, you would agree is the number one thing. 62% also wanted to learn how to manage stress more effectively. And we dove a bit deeper. More than half of clients accepted that their current lifestyle, the way they were living, was negatively affecting their health, and they wanted to change it. I'm also interested in their energy and how they rate their personal energy. 5.5 out of 10 is where they think their current energy levels are, yet they believe it's possible for them to be a 9. 55% of our patients, when we first see them, are not sleeping through the night, and 43% get less than 6 hours. 65% do not wake feeling refreshed and energized. This is a little snapshot of some of the questions that we ask in this survey, and I was very intrigued by this because a lot of our clients had seen other practitioners. They had taken programs of care with very good people. They had been through evidence-based protocols, yet they were still with their problem. And it seemed to me that it wasn't just a mechanical musculoskeletal issue that perhaps was stopping them from fully resolving this. And when we dove deeper and had this information, it became clearer and clearer to me that there are lifestyle issues at play here. And these clients want information about how they can address those lifestyle issues. They're aware of it, but they don't know enough detail, nor do they have perhaps enough time to actually sift through what's the right thing for them to do. They're getting hit with health tabloid media about what they should or shouldn't eat, the latest study that creates or stops cancer arriving, which one's applicable to them. It's very hard for our clients to make those decisions and make accurate decisions for them. Yet there's definitely a desire for them to do that. Supporting this, Regis work group produced a study earlier last year, January 2015, suggesting that of 22,000 people across 100 countries, that stress levels are rising, that the global workforce, more than half of it, reported that they were closer to burnout than they were just 5 years ago. And if burnout is a function of stress and recovery, that tells us that the workplace is getting more stressful. People are after support, perhaps, in not burning out. So I think if people are turning up at offices that are chiropractors, physios, osteos, with musculoskeletal problems, you can't ignore this as part of their solution. Getting a hold of how they manage their recovery, their stress, their energy is a key factor to their health and ultimately how they're going to be able to perform through their life. So I took this and I said, okay, why and how are we not appropriately applying a wellness health model to this? Because a typical traditional health model will wait for something to happen. An event happens before this is engaged. If there is screening, it's pretty much screening for disease processes only, and typically that's late stage pathology that we're looking at there. So there's not much effort in helping people make changes in behavior. I guess a way to think of this is it's a very late stage outside in solution. So typically there's drugs or surgery that are involved in stopping the progression of a disease. And if a lot of these issues that we're talking about are lifestyle diseases, they're not diseases that visit people from another country. They are made by how they live. So perhaps this traditional health model can only go so far in helping people make these changes. The way I see a modern wellness health model operating is that it's a journey. Clients are not having an event, they're taking a step-by-step approach towards achieving a specific goal that is linked to how well they are, how healthy they are, how much energy they continually can turn up with every day. And for our clients where we are in London, there's a performance outcome that will result from that. So yes, you have to have the disease screening, but we also feel that using smart predictalytics, so that's using wellness-based tests that actually give you relevant information that you can use, is critical in terms of how you assess where people are at compared to where they want to be. It also is critical that in this model, the individual takes ownership of their life, what they're trying to achieve, and use the best available objective markers to help them drive behavior change. So I guess this is an inside-out solution. We're trying to help our clients tap into an innate natural energy and health. So we're taking for granted that they have a natural system of energy usage and recovery. And we're trying to help them discover the levers that drive that and pull that in the directions that they specifically need to achieve their goals. I built a program. I call it Drive, and we take our clients over a 24-week program, and our team of experts trains and mentors them through a method that takes them to, for them, a new level of energy, health, and performance. So we invite people. We don't accept everyone into this program because, as you may have noticed in the previous slide, we're asking people to take responsibility for this journey. Not everyone is up for that. So we screen a lot of our clients. And for a lot of our clients, this program is not right for them. But for those that do fit what we believe is an ideal client, and we feel that if we both work together in a partnership, that we hold them to account and they're willing to stretch themselves, they will get a result and more from engaging with us. Rather than talk about the program, I thought I'd just take you through a case study of a typical client who comes on the Drive program. And our case study is of a 46-year-old male. This gentleman is quite busy. He has 4 or 5 different companies that he's involved in. One, he's a CEO, the other is a chairman. He's also got 2 non-executive directorships. Typically, these companies are involved in the internet or the Internet of Things. These are cutting-edge companies that are changing how people interact with information and how we collect, use, and sort that information. So he's got a lot on his plate. This guy is trying to help 4 businesses make massive shifts in how the planet interacts with information. He's also married and has 3 children. And when this individual presented to myself, his main issue was non-specific lower back pain that he'd had for the last 3 years. He'd seen a number of osteopaths, physios, chiropractors, had received cortisone injections, had been scanned, all to no result. He, at this stage, was not able to run, and it was starting to impact his ability to travel and be effective while he was traveling. As you might imagine, someone who's involved with 4 businesses, he has very specific work goals, and for the next decade, he wants to be able to deliver on those, but at the same time, he wants to have his health, his well-being at a higher level. He wants to keep it throughout all that. So when he gets to what he sees as the time that he wants to kind of exit from this work and take up his passion of fishing around the world, then he wants the body to be able to do that. So first step in this program is for us to assess where he's at and use some basic measures that help us solve his initial problem of this lower back pain, help the body fully heal this for once and for all, and then help him drive his energy to the highest level. So being a chiropractor and being very passionate about the movement side of health, we take him through a movement screen that we've developed. And I've taken some of the elements of functional movement screen and then built in some of my own thoughts on this. And we have 5 basic movements that we take our clients through. Number 1 being a deep squat. Can someone hold a bar over their head and take themselves below, horizontal with their hips below their knees comfortably? If they can, we give them an optimal score of 3 out of 3, which this individual can. Forward bend is very simple, straight legs. The trunk flexion, we measure this with an accelerometer. What are the degrees in flexion this person can achieve? And we grade that. This individual achieved a 1. This is a dysfunctional number. This person has 6 degrees that he's lost in flexion that would take him to what we call acceptable at 120. And the area that he pointed to, that he's aware of subjectively, were his calves and his hamstrings in terms of his retention. Back bend, similar principle, accelerator-based measurement of his extension through his thoracolumbar spine. We lock the knees here so they cannot bend the knees, so we get an accurate number there. And this person can achieve what we call an acceptable range at 41 degrees. Core stability, this is essentially a modified plank. So this person's in a plank, and using this accelerometer technology, we can measure the movement in their trunk as they alternatively raise one leg at a time. What we're looking for is this person's ability to stabilize their core, their pelvis for 20 seconds at least to be acceptable. And you can see this individual miss that mark. So dysfunction core stability would be the result of that. And then finally, upper body, a simple push-up from the floor. For a 3 out of 3 to be achieved for male, we look at this person's thumb being level with the top of their head and out at shoulder width. Can they raise their body in one fluid motion so that the chest and the pelvis move as 1, and if they can, a 3. His total score, 11 out of 15. What we're after, what we believe is healthy and normal, is a 15. These are basic movements. These are basic things that if we're healthy with our movement, we should be able to achieve quite easily. But modern living and inactivity around looking at screens and mechanized transport means that a lot of these basic movements have been lost. We now have 2 key areas for this person to focus on: their core stability and his ability to get length through his hamstrings and calves and lower back for his forward flexion. The next thing that we do is help people get clear about how their body's built to exercise and to process nutrition. And there's a very lovely genetic test that we've come across. There's lots of genetic tests out there in profiling you can do. There's very few, I believe, that are useful, as in, can you apply the result of this information into your daily life? The one that we use helps us give specific actions. So firstly, based on a full gene transcription, as opposed to just SNPs, we can tell whether this person has a predominance for high intensity in their genetics or low steady state aerobic in their exercise profile. And this person's going to benefit from 90% high intensity exercise. His system is geared and wired to operate at a higher level in terms of his exercise. Yet, at the moment, he's injured, so now's not the most appropriate time. But once he gets through that injury, for him to get his energy balanced through exercise, higher intensity exercise, 90% of the time, is going to be optimal for him. The second thing we get from this information is the macro split, how he breaks down the quantity of protein, carbohydrate, and fat in his diet. And this simplifies the process for our clients in terms of changing what's on their plate and the portions on their plate to optimize their energy. Very powerful information that can actually be applied. And finally, there is a supplement list which genetically they will benefit from if they need supplements at all. We typically tend to stay away from advising on supplements. The next screen we go through is a food reaction panel. So a lot of our clients, without knowing it, have intolerances to foods. This is not to say they have allergies, because that's very different. Intolerances will last sort of 72 hours up after eating. Multiple foods can be involved. Any organ can be affected by this. They're actually very common, difficult to diagnose, and symptoms can clear after avoiding particular foods. So it's an IgG antibody that's actually measured in a small blood spot sample. Very easy to deploy this test in about 5 minutes. For this individual, if he eats anything with yeast or drinks Shiraz or anything with gluten, olive or cow's milk, he'll get an immediate reaction which will promote inflammation in his body. The list below that will create a borderline reaction. So chili pepper, lentils, Pinot, Chenin Blanc, Rooibos tea, Chardonnay, cashew, guarana, and rosehip. So our advice to this client is, rather than making massive diet changes, let's just take out the foods that we know for sure, 100% based on science, are creating a reaction in your body. And let's do that for a prescribed period of time. Then we get to supporting them on stress and recovery physiology. And this is where the heart rate variability comes in. Why I love heart rate variability and why I love First Beat in terms of using that company is that they've provided a tool that's non-invasive, very accurate, proven, and easy to deploy. Yet our clients know nothing about this technology. So we educate them about the whole parasympathetic, sympathetic nervous system thing in a very simple way. And this has been instrumental in helping us make this work for our clients. The Red Baron, this is Manfred von Richthofen. He was regarded widely by both sides of First World War as the best fighter pilot. And this person, when he was in his plane, he wasn't sightseeing. He was there to get things done. So we equate the Red Baron to someone who's in their fight or flight state. So when the body's in sympathetic mode, when the body's trying to deliver energy, we simply say to our clients, the sympathetic is fight or flight. It's the Red Baron, and the predominantly basic function of this system is to deliver energy. Give the body energy to use. Now, in a full 10 out of 10 fight or flight response, saber-toothed tiger jumping out in front of the hunter-gatherer, that's instant energy right now. But it can also be the system that's deploying energy that just needs that 4 out of 10 response, but needs it all day. Regardless, we explain to our clients that this is a normal system. This needs to be in play. On the flip side, the Red Baron has a sister. Her name is the Green Goddess, and she is about rest and recovery, or what we describe as putting energy into your system. And she is normal as well. And if you think of the energy in, energy out equation as a simple bank balance, if you're spending energy, there will come a time when you go into overdraft, and the body will allow you to go into overdraft to a certain point. But I guess the body's bank manager sometimes also says that's enough. You've reached the overdraft limit. It's time to put some energy back in there. And that's as simple as we get with explaining the stress recovery model to our clients. Stress we talk of as energy being delivered for the body to use, and recovery being energy being put back into the body so that it can recharge and be used later. And our clients find this a really simple way for them to look at these graphs. This is my trace, and if you haven't seen a trace yet, very simply, if you're looking at the green, this is my body putting energy back in. If you're looking at the red, that's my body delivering energy for me to use. The brown line here describes my work day, and you can see that I have periods where I am working, delivering energy, but also short periods where I'm putting energy back in. Then there's a period where I'm working. And typically, for me, I have a break at 10 a.m. and I start again at 11 when I'm seeing clients face to face. So you can see that 3-hour period there, I'm delivering energy to work with my clients. That afternoon, I was also in a company delivering a well-being workshop, and you can see that there's a mixture there of me delivering energy to my body for me to get it done, and then for my body, it's also recovering. I actually really enjoy delivering these workshops. Then I head home, and I have 2 small children, so you can see at that point when there's bath, baby, bed, the whole thing, we have a mixture, but predominantly the body's asking for energy. And then I get into dinner with my wife. We have a lovely dinner, converse, I check in with emails, and then I go to bed and my body goes into recharge. And while I could have been in bed longer, the time I spent in bed, more than 80% is dedicated to the body doing recovery and recharge, and the quality is quite high. Also during the day, I've got more than 30 minutes where there's recovery happening. So that's ideal. So our case study individual, this is what his day looks like. And I don't have to doubt that there is no green on that day. So there's no green on that person's work period. There's no green in between work and going to bed. And there's definitely no green in the evening. Turns out that person had 20 units of alcohol that evening, and for this person, they had no idea that that level was interfering with their body's ability to recover and to recover and recharge. And if you look at the numbers, 0% recharge for that person that night, 0% over the whole day. The next day, this individual does a lot better. We still don't see recovery during the day. We do see recovery coming in at night. He's in bed for long enough. The percentage of time in bed dedicated to recovery is quite high, and the quality is quite high there. On the next day, this person, it's a Saturday, so he's working at home. So there's a mixture of him being in recovery, but also doing physical work. But that night, we have a very short sleep cycle, and we have very little recovery over that period there. And his self-reported recovery is questionable. So we typically ask our clients to do 2 work days and 1 recovery day, a Saturday for the trace, and then try and get a snapshot of their exercise. Sunday is when this person exercises. He has a very high level of exercise, and we don't see the trace fall into the evening there. The summary, this person, on the day that he wore the trace, spends energy, is taking energy out of his energy bank account, and in the night period does not recharge it. So he enters the next day in energy debit, I guess the best way to think of it is, and over that course of Friday doesn't recharge. There is recharge happening the next night, but it's not enough to get back into the positive. And the next day he is still in the negative in terms of coming to his energy there. So for this person, a very powerful insight to his lifestyle, that 2 of his days he has not come back over the line and recharged how his energy will be for the next day. So he's in energy debt. And if this is how he's been living for some time, which he agreed was the case, then it's little wonder that his musculoskeletal issue is not resolving. You can see a quick snapshot of this in the summary of his body resources. So typically, a person will recover over a period of time. In fact, that's the wrong slide. The next one I wanted to show you was the musculoskeletal overuse injury against heart rate variability. Is there a link? There's actually some research on this being conducted out of the University of Otago, and Gleisman are suggesting that there is an abnormal somatic response to tissue response accumulating microtrauma if there's any modulation in the autonomic nervous system activity at the level of heart rate variability. What they're suggesting is that when you see aberrations like this in heart rate variability, when you see not enough green goddess and too much red baron, it's affecting the ability of tissue to heal. So for our clients who have got these chronic musculoskeletal issues, it's clear when we show their data on this using this technology that there's an opportunity to help them raise the level of healing they can have with their body. And then with the application of the other information that we provided them about the type of exercise they should be doing, how to split the macros on their plate, how to leave out specific foods that could be causing a reaction in their body, and then how to build a movement program that supports their body in going to healing. We have a client who's got very clear and logical data to make a decision about whether they engage with this. So our recommendations for this individual was change their exercise intensity and then find a way to inject balance into their day. And I've developed a process and that helps people stop the red baron from flying during their day, and also can initiate during the close of their day the green goddess coming in. And we've found that delivering this helps people break that cycle of the brain and that physiology of being on and that problem with detaching and disconnecting in less than 60 seconds. And the first thing that we help them with is understanding through a course we've created in a workshop that there's kind of 3 levels in the brain that process how we do stress. Firstly, at the brainstem, we've got all those basic functions around heart rate, blood pressure, circulation, and movement with the cerebellum that essentially are things that we do, things that are around automatic reflexive function, that there's not much processing involved. And then at the second level of the brain, the limbic brain, there's that feel that we have. That monkey brain is cataloging every event that's ever happened to us, whether it be positive or negative, and filing that, and every experience we have during our day is referenced against that. And then finally, the cortex, the thing that separates us from mammals, that human part of the brain, is finally the thinking bit. Now, we know that in the brain there's 100 billion neurons, that the information is traveling at 400 kilometers an hour, and we can process like 70 pictures a second, but we're only probably aware of and control about 3 to 15%. So typically, we see strategies around stress involving the thinking part of the brain. Very little attention is put on simple strategies that people can use that deal with the feeling monkey part or the doing lizard part. The second thing we educate our clients on is the fact there's actually 2 sides to the brain. The right brain being this parallel processor, which is all about the now, that's essentially taking every sensory bit of information that comes in, the sight, the sound, the color, and it's projecting it into one whole piece, one whole perfect image of the present right now. On the left side is that serial processor that's comparing data from the past to the future, that's allowing us to project an idea of what we want and then constantly referencing back to what's happened in the past. It's also the side of the brain that self-talk comes to, that voice inside our head, and breaks things down into parts. If the right side is about everything being whole and perfect, the left side is about breaking things down into parts and making things imperfect. They're both normal and they're both required. And what we see is clients trying to change stress, trying to turn off the body's ability to deliver stress, is that they get stuck in the thinking part of the brain and on the left-hand side. So when we employ tools that can do that, typically they get stuck in the same area. So our course delivers that. And essentially we're looking to take those 5 parts of the brain, to do the think, the feel, the left and the right, and those 2 states, the red baron and the green goddess, and help clients change that. So we create a course that delivers just that. We get asked to deliver that course into companies like Google and Vita Coco. It's received very highly, and it's part of the reason that we have such great success with our clients who have continuing musculoskeletal issues. And our results, if you want to look at the data we're getting back from our surveys, our initial complaint, people are typically 95% of them. There's been progress by visit 6. 82% get the results that they want, and 69% of our clients stay with us over years. And we're very proud of those results. We think it's because there's this holistic approach that we are giving people tools and insights into how their whole body manages energy, creates it and uses it, and gives them simple information that they can make and simple behavior changes that they can take that gives them direct results that they can feel instantly. I really enjoyed presenting this information to everyone, and if there's any questions, I would love to take them right now.
Yes, thank you, Carlisle. Very comprehensive toolkit you have, and boy, I sure want to be in that green goddess zone every once in a while, not just in the red baron zone. Good use of words with that one. We are a little bit over time, so let's just take one quick question here in the end, and if there were some other questions, then we can answer them via email afterwards. And of course, afterwards, you're also welcome to get in touch with us at First Beat or directly with Dr. Jenkins if you have specific questions. The last slide will have the contact information, and you'll also get it from the email from us. But here is one question for you. How easy is it to integrate the method? And I think this means specifically the lifestyle assessment method. How easy was it to integrate that into your business model?
It's a great question. I know as managing a practice, we always, when we look at putting new technology into the business, have a couple of questions that we ask. You know, how much time is this going to take to integrate? How much is this actually going to add in terms of value, and what's going to be the cost to doing that? Because time is one of the key things that as a business owner we want to manage, but also when we implement something, we want to actually have a result from it. So I've been overwhelmed by how easy it is to implement this technology. To set someone up for a 3-day trace, that means that they have information being gathered for 3 days and 3 nights, takes less than 5 minutes once you're proficient in setting them up. Building a report that you will spend 15 minutes going through them with takes about the same time, less than 5 minutes. So if you look at the time for deployment, including a report, it's about 20 minutes of time, that if you include a 15-minute report, which is you sitting down going through that individual report with a client. So I've found that very simple to build into our business model, and in terms of fees, the time is easily recompensed by the fee structure being put in place.
All right, great. Thank you very much, and thanks again for the presentation. And that's the time that we have today. We will have the podcast available on the website within the next couple of days. So thank you everyone for taking part today, and stay tuned to our upcoming webinars. Have a great day. Bye-bye.